Embark Studios, the creators of the wildly successful extraction game Arc Raiders, has just made a huge decision that will have a massive impact on the game's future. In this video, I'll dissect everything we know about the upcoming changes, the repercussions of those changes, what they mean for you, the player, and predictions for the future of the game. So the big change to Arc Raiders is they are changing their update schedule from monthly content updates to updates every 6 months. And since the launch back in October 30th of 2025, we have received monthly game updates, and that includes things like a new map, a new dynamic map condition, new arc enemies, player projects, and more. We're continually added to keep things fresh and interesting month over month. Now, these updates definitely offered some fun changes to the game, but oftentimes they were met with sort of lukewarm reviews from players. They enjoyed the additions, but they weren't very impactful enough to really give players that wow factor that they experienced when they first got their hands on the game. And oh my god, the first time you play Arc Raiders, it's such an incredible experience, such a vibe, and it's unlike anything else out there. And it's not just the players that were feeling a little lukewarm about the updates, but Embark themselves were feeling hamstrung by having to have these expectations of monthly updates. When Arc Raiders launched, we planned to offer monthly updates, but once the game was in the players' hands, we saw that the kind of long-term experience that we wanted to create for Arc Raiders requires more transformative updates. Over time, we found that the pressure of a monthly cycle limits how impactful these updates can be. You feel it, and we feel it too. Running at that pace isn't sustainable or compatible with the bigger ambitions we have for this game. Now, this is a massive gamble for the future of Arc Raiders, and honestly, I really respect Embark for having the guts to do something this dramatic and for doing it so close to the release of the game. Now, these updates every 6 months aren't going to be just straightforward updates like we're seeing with the monthly updates, and it's not going to be 6 1 month updates just stacked on top of each other either. Embark clearly has something special planned for these major updates and wants them to be transformative and not just little monthly update add-ons to the existing game. Embark have stated that they have a plan to support Arc Raiders for a 10-year life cycle. 10 years is a really, really long time, and I just don't see how it would have survived that long with little 1 month updates. And I talked about this in my last video, but if players are going to remain interested in Arc Raiders for the long term, there needs to be big and exciting changes happening. In Arc, your raider ventures topside to scavenge for supplies, uncover the mystery of what happened to the world, and survive the deadly Arc robots as well as other dangerous raiders. And one thing we learned early on is that this isn't the first time the Arc have invaded the planet. There was a fight between humans and the Ark in what is known as the first wave. The humans won that fight, but just when they thought it was safe, another wave of Ark arrived, and in bigger numbers. Now imagine one of those 6 month updates takes players back in time as a flashback to the first wave, and we battle the Ark during the first invasion. We could be battling and surviving on the same maps, but they all look different just as they did during the first wave before the sand overruns buried city or the foliage covers damn battlegrounds. This is just an idea for me, but just imagine the kinds of ideas that Embark has for their own game. A transformative change like the one I just described can't really happen with 1 month updates. It needs a lot of time to develop and implement, which makes me see these 6 month updates more like expansions than just updates. And an expansion has always felt like a large scale, big change to my favorite games in the past, much more so than monthly updates would. And that's kind of how I'm looking at these changes with Arc Raiders. Now, some people might hear the word expansion and be like, oh boy, here we go. Are these going to be paid updates every 6 months? I honestly don't know. I doubt it, but you never know. And Arc Raiders is a $40 game, and it really doesn't get much better in this industry as far as price point for content received. Arc Raiders is an incredible value and honestly an outright steal at $40. So maybe considering the gravity of the changes that they are going to make to the game, it will be paid updates. But consider this though, since Arc Raiders launched, they have released 3 Raider decks, which are effectively like mini battle passes that you see in other games. Players play the game to earn Raider cred and then in turn unlock cosmetics and usable items in game as they progress through the different tiers. All three of the Raider decks we've had so far have been free. And honestly, since the launch, people have been asking for a paid one. Like, take my money, Embark, please. But they never budged on it, and the decks remained free. So they had a clear chance to offer paid content that players were begging for, and instead, they chose to keep everything free. So my guess is that these updates will be just that, huge updates that transform the game as we know it, and not paid expansions. Embark did give us a sneak peek at the upcoming major update in October. It's called Frozen Trail. And as you might expect, they are touting it as the biggest update yet. They've got a new map planned, and the largest map in the game at that. And honestly, I think the maps in Arc Raiders are excellent. I mean, they all are really, really good. And getting a new map every 6 months seems incredibly reasonable. I mean, we got Stellamontis right at the launch window, and then we got Riven Tides 6 months after that, and now we're getting another map 6 months after the Riven Tides update. So as far as new map content, waiting 6 months for a new map is already the precedence, even before switching to the 6-month update cycle. Now, are we going to get a new map every 6 months for the next 10 years? I mean, probably not, obviously. I mean, you can't have 26 maps in an extraction game. The queue times would be absolutely ridiculous and unsustainable. But I could definitely see them dipping in and out of rotation, where maps move in and out as they shift direction of the storytelling with each major update. And we've also got new arc enemies with fresh designs that will challenge raiders in new ways. Now, this is really good to hear. A lot of the additional arc that was added to the game felt too similar to existing arc. They looked and functioned differently, but they felt just like arc that we had already had in the game. So it seems like Embark feels the same way, and they want to give players a uniquely different experience with the new arc being added. They are also looking to enhance the player progression system, including new ways to shape the direction of your raider, which is honestly needed. And I'm not just talking about revamping the skill tree, which is really a big opportunity in this game, but also give players more meaningful activities to do that will build their character's power. Player progression is a huge deal in extraction games, and as of now, there isn't a ton of depth in the current state of Arc Raiders. So definitely some interesting teasers here of what's to come in October. But what about right now? What are we going to be doing for the next 6 months? Well, many of the game's systems and mechanics will remain intact. Every 8 weeks, players will continue to be presented with the choice to go on the expedition and reset their raider's progression and go through that journey of building up your stash, leveling up again, completing the quests, and surviving with high value gear and items. But as it turns out, most players aren't really engaging with the reset mechanic. Arc Raiders has a natural appeal to the casual audience, but yet the game itself rests in the extraction genre, which is inherently more of a hardcore style of game. This puts Embark in a very difficult situation of trying to balance the game's experience for casual players and that with the dedicated players as well. So, and I honestly think this is a very important thing that people forget, by the way, when it comes to developing a game. There are many different types of players that play these games. In Arc Raiders, you've got the casual player, you've got the hardcore player, you've got PvE players, you've got PvP players, you've got controller players, you've got mouse and keyboard players. There is a huge variety in the spectrum of player types, and every time they make a change to the game, they have to think about how that one change is going to affect everybody. So it kind of irks me a little bit to see gamers complaining about some change to the game because it doesn't benefit them, but it's probably benefiting someone else, not just you. So it's always good to stop and try and look objectively at the big picture and how a small or big change impacts the community as a whole. Anyway, there aren't many players doing the expedition, end of story, and Embark wants to incentivize this even more by tackling one of the biggest pain points specifically for the casual player, and that's losing all of their valuable items and blueprints with the reset. Well, we are getting a brand new trader in the game that's going to offer unique weekly rewards, including cosmetics and rare items in exchange for items that we're tasked with going off topside to go scavenge for. Now, this new trader will also offer 2 perks, including extra stash space and the expedition vault, which will let players carry over 5 of their favorite items across the expedition. This is a pretty big deal, not only because it helps incentivize players to do the expedition, but also engaging players with another weekly challenge outside of the trials for you to continue to work on. The time between now and October is a really long time, and players are going to need things to do between now and then to keep them interested. And the new trader is just another layer that's being added to the trials and the expedition in hopes of doing that. It's also very important to note that Arc Raiders will still be getting weekly updates to address bug fixes, balance changes, and add player events. So the game is not being left for dead in between its new 6-month updates. Very important to note. However, despite these additions, I think Arc Raiders is going to see a more accelerated player decline between now and October, way more so than they would have if they just stuck with the 1-month updates. This seems pretty obvious to me, but I think Embark isn't bound by the success or failure of Arc Raiders anymore. It's already a monumental success. They sold 16 million copies since launch. They don't have to worry about making ends meet during the ongoing development process. They are completely unlocked as developers. And more important than worrying about concurrent player counts, they can put every ounce of effort into executing on their vision for the game at all costs. So when these transformative 6-month updates drop, there's going to be a big resurgence in the player base each time. And more than likely, depending on how dramatic these changes end up being, players will stick around longer to enjoy Arc Raiders until the next major 6-month update than they would have if they were just getting small 1-month updates. So this is the gamble once again. Embark is banking on the fact that players will have a more long-term investment in the game over the next 10 years if updates are fewer and more impactful than more often and less impactful. This mindset comes with great risk, obviously, and undoubtedly the player base will drop at a higher rate. But will that resurgence in October bring the game back to new heights? Only time will tell. Once we get our hands on the new Frozen trial update and we really see what Embark means by transformative updates, then we'll know. But until then, I do trust Embark to do what's best for the game, and I think up until this point, they have delivered an incredible game. And one thing to always remember is that Arc Raiders in its current state is really just the beginning first steps in the game's experience. There are likely really big plans ahead for the future of the game. Thanks for watching. I hope you liked the video. Let me know down in the comments below how you're feeling about all of the big changes to Arc Raiders. And if you want to be a part of the live Arc Raiders conversation, make sure to drop a sub or a follow on my Twitch, and I will catch you in the next one.